Hello, we're a little early, or actually, we're just on time. I'm going to give everybody a couple minutes to arrive. We have our illustrious AD. I see Erica's here as well. Co-chair, I'm Sean. Maggie did say that she was going to be a couple of minutes late. So I guess that, and I know that I think Brent said he had to leave a little early. So we'll see how this goes. But I think we're going to give everybody like 3 or 4 minutes to get back in. So apologies if it's super late or super early, wherever you are. But bear with us. Thanks. All right, I think that's probably good enough to get started. We got a couple of people here. Play a little bit by ear. We may do a little bit of a swap here. But hello and welcome to the DULT working group of the IETF. This is an official meeting of the IETF. So we're going to go through a little bit of process and procedures here at the beginning. Again, as we stated earlier, my name's Sean Turner, one of the chairs, and Erica is here as well. All right, let's go to the next slide. Does this work? Yep. Okay, so Yeah, so this is the note well. It's a new layout. It's very small on my screen, so hopefully you can all read it. This is the policies and procedures of the IETF that have been written down in the request for comments. It's a lot of stuff about IPR, code of conduct, copyright, patents, and stuff. The basic gist here is if you know something, say something before you participate. Note really well. This is this thing about keeping it professional. Also, if you have any concerns about how you've been treated by anybody, you can talk to us, area director, OBUD's team, whole 9 yards, to try to rectify that to make sure that you feel welcome and then we correct the behavior. Meeting tips. It's virtual. Please mute if you're not talking. Also, it is being recorded, so mind your P's and Q's. If you're on camera, don't do what I do, like play with your beard the whole time and eat and all that good stuff, because you'll be recorded and then stuck on YouTube. Our agenda is pretty straightforward. We got 3-ish documents in the working group, and we're going to try to work through them. Previously, we spent a lot of time kind of going through the threat model document first. I think Maggie's going to be a little late today, so we might loop back to that. So I might be totally putting Brent and Sadiqa here on the spot by seeing if they have anything that they want to talk about. But before we get there, I guess I just gotta have to make sure we do actually have a scribe or someone that's willing to take notes. Anybody? All right, Erica, you blinked first. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm fine to take notes. Thanks.
I appreciate it.
I said I would wait, but I did.
Yeah, it's good. I appreciate you got to get up there. Sometimes you got to do it ourselves. All right, so I guess let's start off with a couple things. One, logistics. So we've actually gone ahead and requested a session for IETF 124 in Montreal. We don't know when the actual date's been scheduled. I should let you know that you can participate in person or remotely. Both have fee waivers if you are in an organization that cannot afford to pay for your attendance. When you register, there's a way to request a fee waiver. They're pretty liberal about granting them. So if you need it, feel free to do that to participate, because it will probably, we did request an hour-long session, so it'll be like another one of these. It might be nice too, because we might be able to get some stragglers from other areas to come in and provide some input, because eventually we will end up needing to get a wider review from the IETF community. We also have one other scheduled meeting, another one of these interims scheduled for December. As Deb noted, remote fee waivers won't be rejected. So it's in a friendly time zone for those in North America. So if you can make an hour out of your day, it'd be really good if you could attend. I guess I was gonna say we also have a meeting in December that's scheduled. I think I'm probably gonna wait till after the meeting in IETF 124 before Eric and I decide like how often we want to keep these things going on a monthly basis or whatnot. Because I think we're gonna get to the point where we're probably going to be doing a last call at some point, I guess, on the threat document, and that'll probably take a little bit of time to get through. And I don't know that the other documents are really in shape, ready to go down there. But then again, maybe we're all just waiting to kick off to go real fast on the other documents. So I'll pause now. Are there any questions? It's always funny. In Meet Echo, I'm never quite sure where to look, so I'm just kind of like scanning the page. All right, cool. So Brent, Sadiqa, I know I'm kind of putting you guys on the spot here, but do you think there anything that we would need to cover in terms of the protocol documents?
Sadiqa, do you want to go first, or would you like me to give my
Go ahead. Go ahead, Brent. Go ahead, Brent.
Sadiqa might have something else to add, but my thought is we really want to focus on getting the threat model finalized so that we can have a clear understanding of what needs to change in the protocol document. So I personally don't anticipate much. I guess the exception might be if Sadiqa, I don't know how you feel about the the remote disablement topic we've talked about a bunch.
No, I agree mostly. I think we can have a discussion over it, but I believe maybe Maggie has material to talk over. But I don't have anything extra.
Okay, so that's the remote disablement is interesting because I know Maggie did drop a link saying that she found some information on this. To be honest, I haven't had a chance to read it, so there would be no way for me to summarize it in any way, shape, or form. So I'm hoping that when she gets here, we can actually talk about it. I guess I know that I spent some time reading the document, the threat model document at least, and I think we do a good job of covering the topics that we need to cover. It's just lengthy. And so we'll have to figure out whether we need all the citations or not. It's not clear to me that we would need them all, because there's definitely like you can make these statements and I could guess you could argue, well, where are they? And then you could point to these other things. I don't know that the IETF needs that, but when we start getting through the reviews from other people, we'll see what they have to say too. But I think it's fairly lengthy and thorough. So the question is, how much do we need to, how far do we have to go? All right. And we're going to start collecting, kind of quietly started to collect input from people behind the scenes to try to get them to provide, their IETF kind of comments. But if there's other people that have had a chance to read the threat model document, now's your chance. You can, you have a long chance, so it can take months to go ahead and read the document and provide your comments. And even if you read the document and you think it's good to go, that's also useful input because silence is hard for us. We have to show, the chairs have to judge consensus, and we can't have silence. That makes it hard because then Deb says, well, who read the document? And I go, the shrug is not really a good emoji. I want to put in an email for that. But I guess the other thing that we could do in absence, we can do a self-led. Let me see if I can do this. Let me stop sharing my video. I'm going to stop sharing the slides. Share my screen. Yes, I'm going to share a screen. I want to allow to share a window. I'm going to go pick the window. I'm going to share this window. So we know in the repo we're down to just 6 issues and 3 pull requests, which is pretty good. I guess I'm curious if we have anybody on the line that really thinks that any one of these issues is particularly near and to their heart that they want to talk about. So I think some of these are pretty straightforward, right? Like adding an acknowledgement section, you're going to do that. Definitely want to align the terminology. Where's my lawyer? There. Definitely want to align the terminology. I think that the authors of the other draft should be mindful of this because I think while we are probably going to not, my assumption is that we'll get this document and get it out and then not actually try to get it out of the working group per se, because we want to make sure if we do decide to change the terminology or something that the documents all kind of maintain consistency across the board. Brent, go ahead.
Yeah. I don't know what is in the consider designing a loss mode function, but I guess my first follow-on question would be, is that within scope of this work, or is that something that's maybe out of scope? When I think of a loss mode, I think of a type of feature that could enable me, if I've lost an accessory, to help me find it. And that seems a little bit different than what we're talking about here. But maybe I don't understand what's meant by loss mode.
That's a worthy comment we can put in here.
Great. Thanks, Sean.
I can actually write this down. If this is in scope.
And that includes anti-theft.
Yeah, because I think
Oh, I know what Maggie's getting at, I think. Okay, so this is maybe the intersection of, hey, if I have like an anti-theft or loss mode feature, does it somehow impact the unwanted tracking protections? And if so, how and what do we maybe want to do about that? I don't know which document or documents would cover that. Maybe the threat model would be a good place to start.
yeah, I mean, I think that's probably a good place to tease this out. And I see that Maggie just jumped in. Hey, Maggie. So we just jumped right into a self-led jump into the repo for the threat model document, and we got to the first one, and Brent was like, "What's this one?" So I think he may have caught himself in figuring out that it's an intersection and maybe where we'd want to put the information. But the threat model seemed like a pretty good place to start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Maggie, were you thinking that this one is really along the lines of if accessory or platform makers choose to provide loss mode, anti-theft type features, that they have to do it in a way that doesn't, break or erode the unwanted tracking protections?
Wonder if we're having some audio problems.
We could be. I can just write that question in the issue page and we can come back to it.
That'd be great, actually. That'd be great, yeah.
Yeah.
So you have an issue about terminology? Isn't there another one to make things like standard terminology? Like I would not expect to see in normal IETF drafts, I would not expect to see the word victim in a draft. Generally, I understand why you lean that way here, but I think it's the bottom one, update terminology and threat model document to be consistent with other documents. Is that other documents in general or other documents within DULT?
My recollection of what we agreed to previously, and maybe it's not the final thing we want to do, but the interim was we had a pretty detailed terminology section in the protocol document. So I think we, in a previous meeting, agreed to try to have that be the source of truth right now for all the 4 documents we're working on. So maybe that's what Maggie.
That's my recollection as well.
Yeah, it was internal consistency, not across the IETF
Yeah.
yet. So I think
Yeah.
that we can submit another issue to try to get that done too.
Just, and I understand why you want to use victim here, but we use attacker all the time, but the attacker is not attacking a victim normally. It's there's usually another word, and I can't think of what the other word is right now.
All right, Maggie, you're next.
Hello, sorry I'm late. I teach on Thursdays now, but I am here. Yeah, in terms of the terminology, basically we had one set of terminology that was in the accessory protocol document, which came from the earlier internet draft. And I just thought that if we're going to have all these different documents, it's useful to make sure we're all using the same terms. And so originally I had made a pull request on mine, but then, or not on mine, but on the threat model repo. And then one of the discussions we had at a previous meeting was, well, where should this master list of terms live? And then, so then we thought, well, maybe they should live on the accessory protocol. So then I did make a draft PR over there, but then we really haven't had time to talk about it, or there's been time that people haven't had time to review it. So it's kind of been sitting there for a while. And so I'm trying to get the threat model document to the point where we can kind of release it to get broader feedback, because we were hoping to be done, a couple of months ago, and I don't have a ton of time to keep working on it this semester until, January. But so I made a PR recently where I just put some of the terms in our document so that we can share it more broadly, because there's words that we're using that people might not know what they mean. But I think in the long term, I don't have a strong opinion about where these things need to live, as long as they're living somewhere where someone reading our document knows what they mean. In terms of the victim language, so I think Jesse was the one who chose the language that we use for the taxonomy, whereas attacker and victim. And I think in this case, in certain gender-based violence contexts, people use the word survivor. And I think that Jesse intentionally used the word victim because we were trying to refer to a security context. I think given that, it's probably a good idea to have the terms attacker and victim included in the terminology. I think they're defined in the taxonomy, but we could also define them earlier in the document if we refer to them earlier.
And then do a indirection, right? Like you could have victim and survivor, and then do a redirection, say this is in the security context of how we do threat models, this is the attacker and this is the this is the victim, or not victim, whatever with the name is.
We can update that. Yeah.
Alrighty. Okay, cool. I guess the other issue that we've talked a little bit briefly about is what was it? You sent me a link, Maggie, to something about, where is it? Remote disablement. And I think Brent and Sadiqa both were that's one of the things that we wanted to talk about. So I'm trying to figure out how best we could frame those discussions. And I realize we got Brent for the next 8 minutes, so I'm not sure how best to go through that.
I think we're kind of stuck. I think there's maybe a few opportunities to move forward, and Siddika and Maggie, please speak out. But I felt a little stuck in our last couple conversations. We're hitting some roadblocks based on some of the feedback. So I was personally thinking we should focus our energy on the threat model until we get that finalized, and then we can revisit this topic at a later time. But Siddika and Maggie, is there any you wanted to talk about today?
Maggie might have something, but I kind of agree. Also, we are missing Acre, but we can put on our Acre hat maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I think basically some of the big concern was that if a tag is going to be remotely disabled, we need to have criteria that can be enforceable by the tag. And there was a lot of back and forth about how we could do that. And then I think ultimately we came up with some criteria that could be enforced by the tag, like detecting play sound, and then also detecting the duration of time that the tag and the device that's attempting to disable the tag are near each other. The thing that we cannot do is we cannot necessarily know that if these things are near each other, if they're also moving, because the tag can't easily enforce that. We talked about, what happens if the tag has an accelerometer. They could detect motion, but it turns out that tags aren't required to have accelerometers, so there's really not a good way to do that. So then kind of the question that came out of that is okay, well, we have these two things that can be enforceable by the tag, and the question is whether or not that is sufficient to prevent abuse of this feature. And then I think one of the open questions is even if this feature is abused, what is the consequence of that happening? So one of the things that I was trying to do was trying to outline, or Acker had suggested was, well, what are some of the differences between the benign use case, in this case of someone, attempting to disable a tracker that they can't find for safety, security reasons, versus someone just mass disabling tags to try to disrupt the network. And I think that might also be where there might be disagreement about what we think the costs of that are. So for example, if someone needs to be in proximity to a tag for an hour and that tag has to be away from their owner, and then someone disables the tag, what advantage is that giving, an attacker who's trying to take down a network? I personally, I think that if that time period that you have to be within proximity is high enough, I don't see there being a major risk, because the advantage to an attacker over like physically finding it and disabling it is not really that high. Like, we're trying to help people who have less technical expertise. So I think there's a trade-off, and there's a way to design things to make it harder to abuse the feature. And I think that it's still worth considering. I think we want to get more feedback on like what scenarios people think that they could do to really break this, but I personally don't see them at this time. So yeah.
So if I may, this might be a perfect topic to talk about at IETF 124, when you may have more, I want to call them tourists, maybe the wrong word, in the room that might have ideas of things that might be appropriate or not appropriate, or good ideas or bad ideas or whatever. You just will have a room full of more people than you do today, which like you have like 7 people. No, 11, sorry. So use the chance of an in-person meeting to talk about things that you're stuck on, because that might be a way to get some ideas that maybe you hadn't considered. You will get Ecker in person, I know, in Montreal, by the way. So.
Sadika?
Yeah, so I think the duration the tag was in range is still something that tag doesn't know. It is enforceable from the platform. So it comes down to, again, the tag doesn't know about it. So I think it's still the same concern will be valid. Although I agree it adds a lot of resistance for the abuser, it's still not enforced by the tag because tag doesn't know. That's one. Second thing, we had this alternative proposal of not changing the tag behavior, but changing the location upload behavior, which was the second proposal in the document Maggie, which we all know that it has a lot less privacy protecting impact, but maybe that's kind of another way that we and I don't know if if it needs to be in the accessory protocol document, because it's not really changing the accessory behavior, but perhaps that's something else to discuss.
Yeah, I mean, I think Deb's idea of trying to like put all this together into a more formal presentation for the big meeting makes total sense. And also, I think we talked a little bit about the like, how does the tag know if you're in range thing last time? And I mean, my idea for that was, well, if you have these two devices and they're talking to each other, they can keep pinging each other. And if there's a period of time over which they haven't pinged each other, then you know that they're not in range anymore, right? Like there could be a timeout or something like that. So I think we can maybe between now and then try to see if we can sketch out like a technical way to do that that's not too high power or anything, but I think it's totally feasible to do that.
If I agree, if there is a ranging session, like if there is UWB involved, for example, and then there is like a handshake sort of a thing, then tag will know. But otherwise, just being in proximity, I'm not sure about that. Same thing for like RSSI based finding, for example, which mainly rely on just the advertisement. So I think only the phone know about those things. But yeah, happy to discuss more.
Maybe we should just try to see if there's a way to do it, because I have some ideas about how we could do it. so it sounded like before I came, you were talking about some of these open issues. I have an open pull request that just kind of like cleans up the document a little bit. It adds the terminology and it deletes a bunch of the to-dos because I didn't feel like, yeah, the top one, remove to-dos and update terms. I felt like the to-dos we have in there are not really that urgent, um, but including the definitions was important. So personally, I think that if I can add the terminology about the attacker and the victim and stuff earlier in the document, I think this is like ready to push a new version and try to get like a lot more feedback. And if we get this done before once, do you know when the deadline for IETF one
It's
Montreal
2 weeks.
is?
It's 2 weeks before. So whatever, like mid-October, I guess.
Yeah. So I think my opinion is like we could do a lot more with this, but maybe we should just kind of call it good enough for now and really try to get a push to get people reading it and giving us feedback in
Yeah, I mean,
Montreal.
yeah, I would definitely think that. What do we got? 3 sitting here, and these been around for a
And some
while.
of those are kind of old. One of them is the
Yeah.
definitions, and the other one is like might just get removed because we kind of
Yeah.
covered it in other places. So it's really there's not a lot. There's like some minor stuff, but thank you, Deb.
I mean,
The 20th
yeah.
of
So
October
I would
is the
definitely
deadline.
think if you want to, I would probably push it and just get a new version out there, and then get people to provide comments. I mean, we can take Deb's, swap out, victim for target or whatever, and we can deal with that on the fly. But definitely get if you've got a substantive change to make, I'd say do it. Because at this point, I think since you're copying the terminology from the other document, I think the chance of people getting really upset about that, and since it is just definitions, ought to be okay. So I would say merge it, spin a new version whenever you got time.
Okay, yeah. So I think in the next week, basically,
Yeah.
I'll just double check with Shailesh and Jesse to make sure they're
Yeah.
okay with it. But then I think we should just push it, and then I can send an email to the list just explaining what we just talked
Yeah.
about. That like we really want to get people's feedback, and also should I say that we're going to be talking about the remote disablement, or should I leave that to the two of you?
Oh,
But
you can do
like,
that if you want. I don't have a problem with people who
Yeah.
are going to lead the discussion saying that that's the thing they want to talk about. Because I think that
Okay.
actually might, if you send it early enough, it's basically it's an agenda item request. And I think sometimes having more specific agendas can help get people in the room. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
I
good.
think that would work.
And then
yeah.
when we so like for the remote disablement thing, we would we also have to have a presentation for that ready by the 20th? Like I want to make sure
No.
people actually review it before the session if they can.
So if you want to do that, typically, if you can get it up a week before, so most people are trying to crush to get they're trying to get their stuff done
Yeah.
before October 20th. So if you get it done before October 10th and 20th, nobody's going to read it, right? So you have the 2 weeks in the middle. If you do it at least a week before the actual, like the beginning of the IETF week, I think you should be able to get people that could actually read and look at things. So you probably have the 3 weeks to pull it together.
That sounds
three
good.
3.5 weeks.
Yeah, so I'll work with Brent and Sadika on that part, obviously. But
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Cool. All right. On that note, is there any place that we would like to go in particular? Or are we going to call it quits for today?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
For the thread document, for example, when we say it's good to go, what does it mean exactly within the IETF context?
Oh, so there's a whole bunch of process that happens. So we'll start off with a working group last call. So that's where everybody's participating in the working group gets to comment on it. So that's anyone who's basically subscribed to the mailing list. And then once it gets through that process, Deb will do her review, basically thinking about what to try to pregame what the process would be to get through the ISG. When she's happy with it, it then goes out to IETF last call, and there's a 2-week call to like 1,000 people or whatever, and they'll read it. Now you'll get input. It's considered like cross area review. So we'll have like the people from the transport area read it. We'll have the security directorate. You'll get a focused review from them, from the people from the app side, from a bunch of other places, and then just random people will submit comments, and we'll have to work through those. I don't know that we'll do the second step. I think we might just do the working group last call and pause and not progress the document, it stays in the working group and doesn't go out to the rest of the IETF, because I think we want the other documents to come forth somewhat quickly, because a lot of times what happens when you process the threat model document all the way through the process, and then you get to the protocol document and you get stuck. So and as Deb noted, we can actually ask for these targeted reviews from what they're called directorates, even without going to an IETF last call. So if we're happy with the document, like, we can basically start pressing buttons to make these directorate reviews come in so that we can get like a wider cross area review. I will say oftentimes the cross area review is really good. Sometimes it's not, but generally speaking, when it kind of, you get like 10 new people that you never thought about this showing up, it'd be helpful. And of course, Deb and I will then lean on people to actually do their reviews they said they were going to do, because multiple people along the way have said that they were willing to do reviews and have not yet done them. So we can be like, okay, now's your chance, time to do it. Yeah. So, and again, it's like just from the working group perspective, when it goes out, sometimes interesting things happen.
Just want to say thank you. That was really helpful to explain the whole part of the process.
I mean, there's
the end of
the process thing, like, it can go all the way to the end and get kicked right back to the working group, depending
Yeah.
upon the level of comments. So the process can be a little confusing, but it's definitely, I mean, it is, if we were done and we had all the protocol documents done and we were going to be done and go to actually get an RFC number, it would still take many, many months. So it's not like going to happen. It's not going to happen that quick. It's in terms of standardization time, it's quick compared to other SDOs, but it still takes time. So
Thank you for describing that.
all right, Deb.
So just a question, how much, I have seen working groups with documents that are so interleaved that nothing gets published until they all get published. Can we maybe not do that here?
So my concern here is that if we can do that, we can definitely pump it out. The only concern I've seen in the past is that you get to the point with the protocol where you can't meet the threat model, and then you got to go change the threat model, and it's like, well, what'd you do that for? Right.
So if it's only 2 or 3 drafts, I don't have a problem. But when you're talking about, when you think about suit, for example, I'm literally looking at 6 or 8 drafts that basically all require everything.
No, we have 4.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
We have 4.
So just if it's just a couple, I don't have a problem. But if it gets to be more than 3 or 4, then it gets to be like, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it's too hard. I agree. So yeah, we just have 4. I think 4 is doable, and it's not. I mean, again, I'm hoping that, like, if we get the document done and the terminology is set, then everybody else just follows suit. And then it'll be an easy way to, it'll be an easy push. But all right. I think that might be it. So all right, cool. So we're looking forward to a new version. Everybody get their comments in, and then we're going to get a targeted presentation, remote disablement, which will be very exciting. We'll make sure, I know that Ecker's going to be there too. I've talked to him about it already. And we'll get some other people going. Maggie, if this time doesn't really work that great, maybe we can look at changing the time so I can send out another poll. You're pretty central to some of this conversation. So if this is a really bad clash, we can try to find another time that's better. But we can do that off list. But all right, if we don't have anything else, we can call it a day.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Talk to y'all later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.